get prepared as they enter the stage, if you will. All right. Looks like we are ready to go. Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our fireside chat today. Switching software should never disrupt. This is a series that we do on a regular basis at CINC Systems, usually every month or sometimes even twice a month. And we do it because we know that, making a change such as your software solution is a huge decision. And we want to support you every step of the way as you're considering this. We also want to make sure that you know our process here at CINC Systems and that you're well acquainted with our incredible onboarding and implementations team. And I believe this is the team that really sets us apart at CINC Systems. My name is Kim Pipsco. I am the Senior Marketing Manager today, so I will be moderating today's session. I unfortunately don't have nearly as much expertise and knowledge as the team on board, but I'm excited for you to hear from them. So a little bit of housekeeping. This is being recorded, so for everyone on the call today, we will send out a recording afterwards. So if something happens, if you had a colleague that you want to have listen to this, or if you need to step away for a minute, no worries, you're not going to miss a thing. If you do have any questions, you can place them in the chat, or in these type of sessions, we usually don't have much time for Q&A, but we might have time for one or two. If we don't get to your question, however, we will make sure to reach out to you one-on-one. So for the first thing that I want to do, like I mentioned before, this is an incredible team for operations, implementation, and training. And they have a wealth of experience here in the community association management industry, as well as the change management industry in general. So I'd like to go ahead and give everyone on our panel the opportunity to introduce themselves, share what they do at CINC, how long they've been in this industry, or how long they've been doing some type of change management. Brett, our VP of Training and Implementation, I'll go ahead and start with you.
All right. Hi, Kim. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Brett Kirkland. I'm responsible for the training and implementation team. I've been with CINC for almost 2 years now. As far as software implementations, it would take me a minute to calculate. It's probably about 27 years, I think, something like that. Date myself a little bit, but that's just a little bit about me, and I'll be talking to you a lot more as we go through this meeting.
Awesome. All right, I'll go round robin on my video list. So Kendra, let's start with you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kim. So I'm Kendra Austin. I'm the Implementation Operations Manager, and that is not a title you might hear at other companies like CINC. So I like to start talking about what is implementation operations. Well, it's kind of the technical how of our implementations, and especially as it relates to data, because there's so much information that you want to get from one place to another, and a successful transition is going to be hinging on successful data transfer. And so I lead the team that is dedicated to your success in that area, getting all of your data from one place to another, and I'm sure I'll talk about that a little more in the rest of this call. My personal origin story is actually more on the customer service, customer experience side. And then I got into the technical aspects of data and automation just 3 or 4 years ago. When Brett came on to CINC, like he said, a little under 2 years ago, he was really looking for somebody to marry those two things, to have a great customer experience, but also leverage a high-tech approach to these implementations. So he brought me on board a little over a year ago, and my team and I work very closely with the project manager and the accounting team to ensure the success of data delivery on your project.
Awesome. Fun fact, Kendra is also an incredible jewelry designer. So if you get to know her better, she might send you the Etsy shop. All right, Kim, you have like the most fun background ever. So why don't you go next and introduce yourself?
Thank you. I worked hard on that, by the way. I should have worn one of Kendra's necklaces today. I do have a few. My name is Kim Schaefer. I'm an implementation project manager on the implementation and training team here at CINC. I've been with CINC for about 2.5 years. I've been in the HOA space for a little over 4 years. Came from a direct competitor, and I can tell you that CINC is a lot more fun. And before that, I sold insurance, and that's definitely more fun than that. So I'll talk a little bit more about what project management entails in the CINC process and everything in just a little bit here, but I'm excited to get started.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Renee. Renee, can you come on board and introduce yourself to everyone on the call? And Renee, you are actually on mute. That's A-okay, things happen. Well, you're going to hear a lot from Renee about accounting adoption. She might have to dial in on her phone or anything like that later. But, you know, it's a technical world, and here when we talk about technical conversations, that's when we're always going to have the technical difficulties, because that's just the way the world works. So no worries, Renee. I'm sure we'll be able to introduce you in just a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that, oh, by the way, here's our agenda. So we're going to be talking about, in general, the approach. Brett will be sharing the approach that we take for onboarding and implementation and our philosophy here at CINC. Then we'll be going more into the process, and then you'll get to have a deep dive with Kendra, Kim, and Renee to learn more about all of the ins and outs that they do with new clients at CINC Systems. So, Brett, before we start talking about specifics, I wanted to first talk about how CINC looks holistically at onboarding new clients to ensure that they're set up for success. So can you share what you've learned at your time here and what you believe helps put our clients in such a good position to succeed at CINC Systems? And just let me know when to click the slides.
Sure. I mean, you can click the next slide now, because I cheat a little bit. So I might forget to cover one of these points. So this kind of just summarizes, just general principles in terms of, how to implement software and process change in general, and even specifically to CINC and thing. It's adapted for what I and the team have learned here, myself over the last couple of years, and the team learning over the last couple of decades, honestly. Everything we do, and some of this might sound like cliche, but I think a lot of companies don't operate this way. But everything that we do, we look through the lens of client experience. So whatever it is, just like Kendra mentioned, something that might seem pretty far removed from that would be like formatting an Excel file so that we can load it in. But we look at that through, how does that impact the customer? How's it going to make the customer's life better? How do we make it as easy as we can on the customer through literally everything we do, every single step that we take? We're a continuous improvement shop. We take a 360 look at everything we do from all of our stakeholders. We give surveys at the conclusion of our implementations. We give an opportunity we keep them short, don't worry, but we give an opportunity for feedback there. We take that very seriously. Internally, even not just at the end of an implementation, but during an implementation, we're always looking for lessons learned. If something didn't go quite right, it doesn't happen often, but if we found some type of a hiccup or a bump, we're going to take a look at that and fix it for the next time. And then we're always asking everybody throughout the company, what can we do better, different? We have CINC conferences, so we're always looking for feedback there. Just anywhere we can get feedback, we want to put it back into our process so that we're always getting better. And that's always going to be the case, because until we're perfect, and nothing in this world is perfect, we're not going to be done. So that approach is always going to be with us. And so the result at this point is the next customer that we bring on board gets 15 years and counting of 360 feedback and continuous improvement. So that's what our projects at a high level are based on. So a little bit more about that as we keep digging in a little deeper. We talk our consultative approach. So we use the term the CINC way quite often. You might hear us say that. We are the CINC experts. I mean, we're the ones that work with our software day in and day out. We're the ones that have worked with hundreds of different customers, and we need to bring that to fruition. So CINC is a software company, but it's more than just software. What we're really bringing to the table is a solution. And what that means is not just the software. It's not just the data that we put in it. It's not just how we configure it, but how does that ultimately translate into a business process, a better business process, a better way for our customers to do their job. So that's kind of what we mean by the CINC way. And then also CINC most of the time is also interfacing with banks for various purposes. And so we're also integrated fully there. So instead of having to log into your bank to do stuff and then log into CINC to do something else, we provide a one-stop shop. So you have one system, one process, everything's integrated and seamless. Next slide.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I believe you're going to dive into the process now. Yep.
I am. So as we keep getting a little deeper as we go here, this is a high level look at the map, and we are an iterative process shop, so everything doesn't always follow exactly in kind of a waterfall picture like we see here, but generally speaking it does. And so the process starts with discovery, which we're kind of already in that with you right now. That starts in the sales process, how to learn about your business, learn how CINC can help best. Then we progress into, okay, now we need to configure CINC, set the system up right based on what we've learned about you. Then we want to go out and get data from any other systems that you've been using. And we want to train on how to use that in CINC. So now that we've got it set up, we've got your data in, we need to teach you how to do it in CINC. And then we're going to have a go live cutover transition, so to speak, where you stop using the old system or systems and start using CINC. And then we have a final step toward autonomy is, we call it our transition phase, where we're walking hand in hand with you. And I think we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but at a super high level, we break our projects into really two phases. One is to go live. Like, what does it take to get you from your old system and into CINC? And then honestly, for a couple, and we'll talk a little bit more about timing and stuff too, but for a couple of months, we're going to be walking with you hand in hand, going through every daily step and process until you can be autonomous, and we support you forever after that. But we really like to draw attention to that second phase where we're really walking hand in hand in your business process. It doesn't just stop when we cut over and go live, so to speak.
Oops, sorry.
And so I can. Do you want to take this, Kim, or you want me to?
Sure. So this is just an overview of our main points of contacts. So, when you get started in the process, you're with our sales directors, our VP of strategic partnerships, who will help you understand all the partnerships and financial partnership opportunities you have and help you make the best business decision for yourself, as well as our VP of strategic development, aka our sales engineer, who's really going to share with you the ins and outs of the systems. Moving on into project management, where you'll have a dedicated project manager, accounting experts, data operations to help transfer the data for you, and then of course the training team. Then after that, you are assigned an account success manager. Now, this is something that's traditional in any SaaS-based software solution, but I believe it's actually very unique in the community association industry in general, where you have a dedicated account success manager as well as a support team in development. who's available to answer any technical questions you have, as well as help you continue to build your business. So our support team has a 4.9 star rating for how they answer calls that come through, and as well as the timeliness of that too. So it's something that we're really proud of here at CINC Systems. And Brett, I believe this is on team structures and methods. It's a little bit more of a deep dive into your team if you want to take this on.
Yes, certainly. So this is kind of looking under the hood a little bit in terms of how we're structured and how we operate. But I think it's really important to know. I like to use the term as the best of both worlds, and I'll kind of speak to that here. So one world is to have experts in many different areas, and we have that. So we've got a team of accounting experts that know how to talk the language, so to speak. They know different accounting methods. They know, based on how our customers are doing their accounting, how to set it up in CINC. And so we've got a team that's focused on that, a team that's focused on getting beginning balances lined up from your old system into the new one. So people that really know what they're doing have a lot of expertise in that area. And we have a data operations team, and we've already talked about some of these things a little bit, but what we don't want to ask our customers to be going and having to extract a bunch of data from other systems. We certainly don't want to ask them to have to format it and get it right so they can get it into CINC. We don't want our customers to have to be technical experts. So we do that work for you. And in order to do that well, we have a team that focuses exclusively on that. So that's our operations team. Training can be an art and a science. Like it's one thing to know how CINC works and to be able to set it up. It's kind of an extra skill to know how to teach it to somebody so that they can learn it and retain it and move forward. And so we have a team of professional trainers where that's their discipline. That's what they do. They're in the business of helping you understand how CINC works and making sure that it sticks and retains. We have other roles also. Sometimes we might need a custom report, something more technical on the IT side. Sometimes, we can lend some assistance to things like that. So that's one world, experts in everything. But if we just left it at that, that could be a little overwhelming for you, the customer, because how do you know who to go to? And so that's where the other world comes in, as a single point of contact. That's our project manager. Analogies I use for them a lot, it's the architect. If you're building a building, it's the surgeon. If you're in surgery, they're coordinating everything, and not just coordinating it, but understanding it well enough to know that the experts in everything, to know who needs to do what and when, and be a single point of contact to you, the customer, so that even though you have the leverage and the benefit of all these experts, you don't have to know how they'll work or when to use who or anything. You can work just with your project manager. So you get the best of both worlds. One point of contact, but massive expertise spread all around. And then finally, we have a very deep, experienced management team too. So things go really well for us, honestly. But if they didn't, if there was some type of a bump, if something happened and your old system broke, or there could be things that happen along the way. But we're not going to fail. We've got a management team that will step in and we will smooth those things out. We'll figure stuff out. I mean, sometimes things happen for the first time. We have a very deep, experienced management team. We will get on that and we will fix it and move forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. One of the things that I really liked that for me is the key takeaways that you mentioned. It's not just about a software, it's about a solution. And I think that's something that we certainly provide with your team and Don's team, Don, who is our Chief Client Officer. I think we provide a total solution to help small business owners grow their business. So now it is my distinguished honor to be able to introduce you to the rest of the team on our panel. The first person who will be chatting today is Kim, not me, but the other Kim. And we're going to be talking a little bit about project management. So obviously the experience that people go through in switching software is a big undertaking, and it requires this delicate balance of change without business disruption, hence the title of today's call. So it feels like one of the most important aspects to this is a solid project management system. So expectations are clearly understood and communication is well articulated. So Kim, can you talk a little bit about how CINC ensures projects are run on time without disruption to normal business operations?
Absolutely. So we use a combination of agile and traditional methods, and we use a single comprehensive project plan that can include all of the steps involved in not only the CINC implementation, but any bank transition that you might be going through as well. And using our deep relationships with our partner banks, we can streamline that process and keep everyone on track. So you will have a project manager, such as myself, assigned to your project that will set weekly calls with the bank representation included, so that we can talk through each of the tasks and make sure that everybody is clear on who is doing what and when. Our project plan also allows us to customize the process based on your specific bank relationships and your business practices, so that when you go live in CINC, there's no stone left unturned. And that's really our goal, is to make sure that we've addressed everything that needs to be addressed before you go live in CINC. We use a web-based project management software that can be shared with all of the stakeholders in the project, so that everyone has access to real-time project status updates, which can be really helpful in making sure that everybody is well aware of what's going on at any given moment. We also focus heavily on things like your incoming payment streams. We address each one of those individually to ensure that at Go Live, there's a seamless transition for not only you, your board members, but also your homeowners. And our process is all about proactive communication in all directions, and that's what really makes it effective. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that information on project management. Clearly, that is something that you excel in. All right, so we're about to chat with respects to accounting. Renee, I know you've been having a couple of technical difficulties. Are you able, I see that you're here video-wise. Are you able to speak? Let's find out.
I think I am. Can you hear me?
Yay! Yeah.
Right. I just switched computers is what I did. Luckily, I have two. So.
Hey, there you go. You know,
all right.
Always trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
So Renee, yeah. So Renee, banking and accounting really do go hand in hand, and integrating the experience is one of our strengths at CINC. That said, sometimes the thought of switching banks and software, that obviously can be very overwhelming. So can you talk a little bit about that process and how most of our clients can and see a seamless transition? And also, it would seem that technological capabilities have really helped in making the change of banks less cumbersome. So can you share a little bit about what that process looks and feels like?
Of course. So first of all, my name is Renee Stepan, and I've been in this industry and on CINC for 13 years. And basically what my team does is we work hand in hand with the project manager on calls, making sure that everything looks and is working from the accounting side, because I think that's the fundamental of the project to begin with, because your goal is to produce financials, plus have a database that does both financials and management, which is what I think CINC offers that a lot of other softwares do not. My team is basically going to help you set up your chart of accounts and make it exactly what you need it to be, customized to association and or standard for all associations, and walk you through the entire process from banking, beginning balances, homeowner beginning balances, and make it as seamless as possible on our end and your end, that we do the heavy load. We do, kind of refer back to you to make sure that we want it, we have it the way you want it, as well as the banking process is just, if you change to a new bank, is making sure that all those transfers and things are happening seamlessly in CINC, and it's not any kind of burden on you. We take on most of that responsibility. Other than that, we just we walk through you with it, and then we stay with you till the end. So even after you've gone live, we stick around. If you're having issues or things aren't working, my team is who kind of steps in and says, hey, what's the problem? And let's come and help you. So.
I love that. And I love how you mentioned sticking with you after the fact. Someone myself who has, and obviously this is a very different experience, but has had a lot added to the tech stack with different software tools for marketing. I can't stress enough how frustrating it is when you get onto a new software system and you're just left out in the dust after you onboard. So to be able to have accounting experts like yourself and your team there walking you through the process and making sure that you're feeling comfortable with it even after the onboarding process is technically over is absolutely phenomenal. All right, now it's time to talk about the very popular topic of data. So I know that this is on everyone's mind, and actually we've had a couple questions pop in about data. How do we get our previous data ranging from homeowner information to chart of accounts and more out of one system and into CINC? So Kendra, I know that you're doing several things to help make this easy for our customers. Can you share the methods and efforts that you and your team put in place so that data transfer happens in a way in which clients feel comfortable?
Yeah, so this is a big piece, and the first thing that we do is that we assign a data analyst to your project. So we are a team of experts who, we know the data so that you don't have to. You don't need to be an expert in converting an Excel spreadsheet or, a lot of times even we know even potentially your prior software maybe better than you do in a couple of cases. We're so familiar with all of the prior softwares that customers are coming from. We can leverage all of this experience we've gained through years of previous implementations to guide you and help you through that process. And that does start with typically our best practice and our preference is that you would give us access to your previous system, whether that's a web login so that someone on my team can log into your system and pull the reports for you, or sometimes it's a remote connection, and we work with you and your IT team to make that connection happen. And once it does, it really lifts the load from your team because you might have 50 associations, you might have 100 associations, you might have 200 associations, and if you have to pull reports for each one, for each data type, you can imagine how much time that would take your team to do. But if you're switching to CINC, my team is going to do that for you. And that really it allows you to spend the time learning the system, making important decisions about the system, and validating your data once it's in. So there's still plenty for you to do, but my team is going to help with the, let's call it the boring stuff. I know, Kim, I know you said this is an exciting topic, but I think only for me. And I'd like to go through there are 3 major data milestones during a project. The first is what we call an initial data pull. And that's where we get access to your prior system. We get the list of associations you're bringing into CINC. And for each of those associations, we pull out some high-level information that's not likely to change over the course of the project. Things like chart of accounts, maybe vendors, association fees and or charge codes or posting codes, you may know them as. That type of high-level information so that your project manager can start talking with you in your language about your information and configuring CINC. Then about 6 weeks before go live, we pull out your homeowner information. And we don't do that up top because, of course, as soon as we pull it out and we get it into CINC, now you have to keep both systems updated. So we don't want to make you do that for too long. So we're really balancing this experience of you in your office to having good data practices. So we're going to wait a little while before we do homeowners so that there's a minimum of tracking of changes that happened. With the homeowner information, that's when my team will really, kind of get involved in your project, and we'll talk to you about what that data looks like. We'll get it into CINC. We'll have you review it and tell us if anything needs to change, so that what you're looking at is, here's how everything ended up. I still have this data team of experts to help me if any adjustments to our process need to happen. So that, again, is a bit of an iterative approach to ensure that you all know how critical that homeowner information is to, getting out mailings that look good and, generating other letters and looking up information in your system. And then the last of the 3 milestones is beginning balances. So when you go live with CINC, you'll want to, of course, transfer all of those homeowner balances, who prepaid on their assessments as of the day before go live and who owed you money. And what is the aging on those balances as well. We're going to work with you to find the best report out of your system to maintain the maximum amount of information about what those accounts like as of the day before go live. And again, once you give us the go ahead, we pull all the reports, we format them, and of course we present you with any exceptions, but that really lightens the load, because right after you go live, you're probably working on the daily processes. As Brett mentioned, our team walks you through those, and you kind of need that brain power to be working in CINC and learning the system and getting used to your new processes. Probably don't need to be sitting in front of an Excel spreadsheet for 8 hours a day trying to transfer information. So that's what my team brings to you.
Love it. I still think it's a very exciting topic, no matter what you say.
I agree with you. I think it's exciting. I love it.
All right. Well, we're now going to talk about training and ensuring your team is up to speed on all things related to CINC. We want everyone to experience the power behind our software. So I know that at CINC, we do our best to ensure that we have endless resources to be sure that it happens when it comes to making sure everyone on your team is acclimated to the process, the systems, the solutions. So Brett, can you share a little bit about the training that we offer at CINC?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is training is both a thing, we'll say like a milestone in the project, maybe more than one, but it's also something that happens throughout the project. I mean, we're always training every step of the way, because one of the big objectives we have at CINC is to help you, our customers, grow. So it's one thing for us to implement from your old system into CINC. You're going to continue to grow, and you can continue to add business and associations, and so every step of the way we're training you on how things work in CINC so that you can be prepared for that growth, and just so you can understand CINC better, just to see how everything's working and what we're doing, just on your road to autonomy. So I'm going to ask each member of our team here to kind of talk about a couple of different areas there. So Kim, would you mind speaking a little bit to Kim Schaefer, a little bit to our approach to training and how we do the, we'll say the theoretical training before go live, and then once we into a transition phase, kind of how do we handle it, at that point?
Absolutely. So our project is really separated, as been mentioned a couple of times, into 2 main phases on either side of the go live date. And the go live date is so important, and it's established early on. In fact, in our first conversation, we established the go live date so that we can drive toward that milestone with confidence. So during the pre-go live phase, your team is going to engage in the comprehensive system training. Not only do we offer recorded webinars that can be watched anytime, we also have scheduled webinars that your team can attend as needed, and we have live Q&A sessions. Some of the topics are even addressed with one-on-one training for each customer individually. In the post-go live phase, your team will start to use that knowledge and practice with the help of our expert team. So we walk hand in hand through the daily and monthly processes. It takes about 10 weeks or so to get to the end of those milestones to ensure that your team is first able to effectively perform their job roles through a full management reporting cycle, and so that everything ends up accurate and in balance, so we can get those reports out and so that everybody is really comfortable doing their jobs in this new system.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to accounting and the finances, Renee, we already talked a little bit about how we do the heavy lifting and getting beginning balances over, but throughout that process, we're also training their customers on what we're doing and how those balances look in CINC. Can you elaborate on that a little bit in terms of how your team approaches that?
I can if I'm working.
You get a third? Did you get a third computer?
Yeah, I got a third computer now at this point. I've given up.
Yeah.
Technology, I'm really good at it. My computers are not so much. I'm sorry, Brett, could you just repeat the question? And I apologize.
Yeah, so we really have, so we do heavy lifting for getting beginning balances set up.
Correct.
But we also want to teach our customers how that process works kind of along the way. So I was wanting you to just kind of elaborate on how you work with the customers during that process so that we're doing the heavy lifting, but they're also learning kind of at the same time.
Absolutely. So again, as Brett said, we do the heavy lifting. We'll put the beginning balances in with a lot of help from Kendra's team. Moving forward, though, what we teach you is we'll put things out there, then we'll have you look at them, make sure they're accurate. We do it first, but we want you to see how it's done, teach you how to do it, especially if you're onboarding new clients, which happens a lot with management companies, that we may be pulling in your old data, but you may be pulling on to more associations. So our training from the accounting perspective is basically not only beginning balances, but also GL beginning balances, teaching you how to set up a new association and move forward so that once we are out of the picture, and that's way down the line, but still you need to know the same processes that we're doing in order for you to succeed in CINC, how to put in a beginning balance for a homeowner, how to everything in accounting related world. We kind of walk through that with you on the calls, like here's your beginning balances, here's what we're going to do. And we try to get you involved so that you actually are familiar with the process and it's not just us doing it. We'll do it for you, but you need to know it moving forward so that you can grow your company. That's kind of our goal.
All right. Thanks, Renee. When it comes to data, I think guidance might be a better word than training for what I'm about to say. But when we move data over, like we've mentioned a few different times, we're doing most of the work there, the big heavy lift. But we do ask customers certainly to participate in that with us and to review and make sure that things are looking good. And so when we say things like look at it and make sure it looks good, Kendra, can you talk a little bit about how we provide guidance so that we're even making that process as easy as possible?
Yeah, absolutely, because I don't think it would be very effective if we said, here, we put all your data in this brand new system that you don't know how to navigate, make sure we did it right. Like that would not work, I don't think, for anyone. So what we do is we use that as an opportunity to help get you familiar with navigating the system, pulling reports on information, looking at the various fields in CINC, and we give you very specific instructions about what to check closely, what to spot check, what reports to pull in order to get really good visibility into your information, and so that you can really get a feel for what did the data look like in my old system and what am I used to, and now how does that translate to CINC, and how am I going to use this day to day going forward, and how can I validate that all of this data landed in the correct places. So we do give you very specific both written instructions, and we go over it with you on a project call, because it's a great opportunity to start getting familiar with some of those screens in CINC. I also want to say that we do have you check every association, the homeowner data, but don't think that we're going to ask you to check every single field for every single homeowner, because gosh, if we did that, you might as well just hand enter it all, right? We provide you with guidance about, here, check 10% of this type of data for homeowners and spot check at least one of this type of data, and pull this report and put eyes on it and make sure that this looks good. So we're giving you effective tools so that you can get a really good broad view of your data and check it effectively without spending so much time that you might as well have hand entered the data yourself.
Cool, thanks. I do have one more comment about some of the timing of training, but it'll manifest in this next slide, Kim.
Okay. I believe the final thing is the big questions that you had, Brett.
Yes, so we've spent a lot of time talking about just our process and what it looks like and stuff. And I would imagine that some of the big questions that are still there is like, okay, well, how long is it going to take? So I'm asking myself a trick question there. I say it's a trick question because, as you may imagine, it could vary tremendously. We have customers of all different sizes, all different scenarios. Things can range quite a bit. If the stars all aligned and we're exactly perfect, and maybe it's just an association or two, and there's no bank change, and somebody already knew how to use CINC and things like that. We have brought somebody on board and started processing in CINC in a few weeks. I don't recommend that things have to be absolutely perfect for that to happen. So I don't recommend it. Things are going to be really right. We have had some really big projects where, a customer may want the software, a module that doesn't even exist yet. We want to partner together to build it. And now you're going through multiple product release cycles. And that's rare. But there are some really big, endeavors like that. And CINC we're a company that's big enough to accommodate that. You could have a project that's going, 6-9 months, if we're going to do something really huge like that. If we boiled everything down and just tried to average it out, we've talked about our projects being in the two big phases. That first phase where we're doing discovery, setting the system up, getting all your data over, cutting over so that you can go live and start using CINC instead of your old systems. We look at a 90-day benchmark for that. And then we tweak it up and down a little bit depending on what's going on. We actually talk about it in terms of months, so like 3 months, because we always want to go live on the first day of a month for financial purposes. That second part, and this is kind of what I want to elaborate with the training. You may have heard us mention that it's 10 weeks of post go live training. The reason why we put that number out there is again thinking in terms of these monthly reporting cycles. So we're going to be walking with you, on a daily basis, hand in hand, doing a lot, with you at the same time for that first monthly reporting package. Then we want to have another monthly reporting package where you're taking more ownership and kind of doing it on your own and just asking us questions if you need to, so that you can be fully autonomous. And so in order to accommodate that with the heavy hand holding and then, still there, training wheels kind of thing, in order to accommodate 2 full cycles, you're really looking at 10 weeks because it depends on when you started or whatever. So if somebody had a gun to my head and said, how long does it take? 3 months to go live. And then we're going to hand in hand, another 2 months is usually, about what it looks like. And then we tweak it from there. The next big question that I think most folks would have is, and I kind of lump these two together. What's required of me? And, a derivative of that is what does it take, to be successful? And so I think one of the things I would start with is who's available. So Renee alluded to this earlier. The backbone of most of our implementations is the accounting setup. What are your accounting practices? Are you cash? Are you accrual? How are you set up that way? What are your business processes around it? That most things are going to kind of spin off of that. So my first answer to what does it take me is not even an hours question or anything like that. It's having an accounting resource that has the authority and the knowledge to be able to work with us and partner us in that way. We do have customers that don't have that, by the way, that they could be brand new to this business. Accounting might be a brand new thing. CINC can help with that too. We just need that level of accounting authority and support. And if you don't have it, we have an accounting services team that can be that for you. But that's like one of the first things to establish. And when it comes to what does it take for a customer? What kind of investment is it? The investments, honestly, they're more, I was talking about this with somebody earlier and came up with some weird rhyme. We don't need a lot of time. We need your mind, so it's more of a mindset investment. I mean, there is some time, like we've been mentioning, reviewing data and, taking the training and things like that. But it's not the time commitment so much as it is, the approach. And so I would say what we ask is top-down support. So we could get in a little bit of trouble if a buyer makes a decision and buys software and has never engaged their accounting department, never engaged their property managers. If the first time they've heard about this is after the decision's already been made, it can still work for sure, but that can cause some ramifications. So some strong advice would be engage them early, make them part of this decision. And whether it's during the sales process or after, communicating that message out. Hey, we're changing software. It's a solution. Some processes might change a little bit, and just establishing that top down, we're doing this. This is great. It's going to be good for everybody. And just establishing that mindset, that's just as important as all the time that you'll spend actually taking the training or reviewing data or whatnot. The second thing I would say is, when we've kind of alluded to this already, is we do a lot of the heavy lifting, most of the heavy lifting. We will ask you for your support and buy-in. So we'll guide you with this. Help us take a look at it. Does this look right? Is this good? We might have some questions along the way that we would ask you. And then the third thing, kind of related to that first mindset, is just embrace the training. We put a lot of effort into the training. We've got a lot of courses, a lot of resources already there, a lot of resources that will be custom for you, a lot of meetings, daily calls, just embracing that and embracing the learning and learning a new software and a new process. It kind of goes back into that mindset thing again. But if we do those things, that leads to a lot of success. And again, it's not a huge time investment. It's more of a mental investment.
That is a really good analogy. It's not a time investment, it's a mental investment. I love that. All right.
You got to say mindset.
All right, so
right?
Yeah, and it does run. All right, so we are a couple minutes past schedule, but we did have one question that popped up that the other one we answered about, yes, we will log into your current system and pull data. But someone was asking a little bit about custom reports and asking what the process of doing a custom report is, just a general overview. And you might not be able to answer this on the phone because I think it depends, but on the reporting type, but what kind of costs would be associated to create that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends a lot too. So I guess the first thing I would say is I would define a report template versus a report that might be built from that template, so to speak. So like a report template may be like it might be like an aging report or something like that, where we know the data, what's going out in the columns, but a report that's based on that template, we might run it for the last 30 days, the last 60 days, maybe run it for one association, maybe we group it and run it for all associations. There's many, sometimes there's different reports that can be ran from that one template. More often than not, when somebody has a custom report need, what they're usually asking for is some type of a parameter at that template level. Like, I see this template, but I wish that it had the ability to filter on this other field. We track something different than most people do, and I want to show it just for this part of our business, or I want to sort it by a different order, and it doesn't allow me to sort it this way. Some of those types of things, we see that a fair amount, and this isn't always the case, but usually in that world, where we're just tweaking how you run a report and how you display it and things like that, we get those turned around pretty quick, and more often than not, we're not going back and asking for money for it and stuff like that. Now, if you want a completely different template, like it's something that's just doesn't exist at all, like we've never seen it, that's kind of a different story. Then we have to build it, and it has to go through a development cycle. Time wise, depending, assuming that it's feasible, we're a continuous development shop. We put out new releases of the software, every couple of months. So it's possible that something like that could get done like during the implementation cycle. It might take one more extra. And then as far as cost, it really depends on how big it is. There's a big variation, and we would want to scope that out with you and go through it. For what it's worth, we rarely see the need to do a custom report, because CINC even has a custom report module, where you can go in and tell it, I want these columns and these fields. I mean, you can do most everything, plus the ability to do some tweaks to the parameters and stuff. It's pretty unusual for us to need to go, totally off script and build a brand new template like that. It doesn't happen that much.
Awesome.
I hope that answers the question.
And if you don't mind, Brett, I'd like to just add one point from the project management standpoint, just because the question does ask, what's the process? We ask about that actually during the kickoff call. So that's one of the points of the conversation is, what kind of custom reporting do you know that you want already? Can we look at it? Let's talk through it. And then once we start to work through the project, we actually provide samples of some of those reports as well, so that you can review and decide, okay, what is an acceptable adjustment to make and what is not. And then we talk through that as well. So there's a lot of discussing these things with the project manager directly to speak to the process part of this.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree that usually during that process, you're not finding the need to do something brand new that's going into a product release? It's usually something a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah, it's almost always something like, well, you need something specific on a balance sheet. Which balance sheet are we going to pick? Because we have like 7 of them. So we typically will have a version of the report that works closely enough with what you already do. And then there's some other, situations where it comes down to how we set the system up will result in the right reports that you need. So that's part of the conversation as well, is it's not necessarily a reporting change that needs to happen. Sometimes it's a setup change that needs to happen. So we talk through that from the very beginning to make sure that we're getting you what you need.
Thank you. I'll upvote your answer. It was better.
They were both fabulous. All right. Well, I know we're a bit over time, but I hope that helped everyone who's on the call today better understand a little bit about our process of what we do when we onboard our new clients and train their teams. If you have any other specific questions, I'm sure many of you are now wanting to get in touch with your sales director to ask more specific questions. Feel free to give them a call, or wait until later tonight for the recording of our session today, and you can just reply back to me and we can get you connected. But again, to our panelists, thank you, thank you, thank you. So great to always hear from you, and thank you to everyone for attending. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Kim. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.